Hi, this is Sean McCracken, your OC Realtor, bringing you the California dream of eco, sun, and fun. Here I am at Moss Point in Laguna Beach, and I'm here with Dave Parker. And Dave is a well-known architect in town, and we're addressing one of the questions that I'm asked all the time. If I buy this property, can somebody build up in front of me and block my ocean view? So we're going to do a case study right now. And what we're looking at is, and we're about 2 blocks from the water, we're looking at that condo up top there, the window, and right now that has a great view of the ocean. In front of it, we have this 2-story house, tall house, obviously blocks the view. We have a house right here that is going through the permit process, and that's why they have the poles up. And then over here we have 2 other houses that are not blocking the view. Well, I'm sorry, this house right here does not block the view, and this house over here partially blocks it, and down there it doesn't block it. So the question is, can any of these houses go up and block the view, which is a big reason that they bought this property. So I'm going to turn it over here to David, and he can take us through the process that we're going to go through to determine how protected are the views of that condo.
Thanks. Well, this is great because you can see these story poles that are set up, and the city requires that these be set up before any project goes to design review. And the strings at the top show the outline of the highest part of the roof, and the poles are at the corners, so people can see the outline of the building. And the people in the building behind it can look out and see the poles and determine what view impact they're having. So it really helps to settle arguments about whether or not views are being blocked and what the impact is. That's required before you go to design review. But there are also height limits and setbacks that create a building envelope that houses must be designed within. And people want to know, is their view going to be protected? Can anybody ever build up in front of me? Well, they can never build beyond these height limits and these building envelopes, but even apart from that, one of the purposes of the Design Review Board is to protect people from having their views obliterated. So when you set up these story poles, and if you look out your windows and you see that it's wiping out a lot of your view, you need to call the board members before the hearing, have them come over and observe the view impact, and they will fight for your view protection. They're famous for being able to have applicants scale back their properties and scale back their designs in order to protect people's views. They won't protect it 100%, but they will strive for something called view equity, where if you're already there, you get to keep a lot of your view, and the people that are building also get to keep their view, so they try to balance it. They usually weigh a little bit more towards the person that's already there. So there are systems in place to protect people's views. But in order to determine the height limit and the setbacks, you really have to go to the city or have an architect go to the city and do some research, because it's kind of complicated to determine exactly what your height limits are and your building setbacks are.
And that's what we're going to do next, right?
Yes, we're going to go down to the city right now and try to get a handle on that. It takes a little bit of research. You need to talk to a planner. You need to look at a site plan and go through a little bit of an exercise.
Okay. And why would this house right here, which is clearly larger than the others, and it appears to be over the 25-foot limit or whatever, why did that get passed?
Yeah, you're right. I can tell by looking that it violates all the current building envelopes. There's a little plaque on there that says 1927. At that time, there were no height limits or building envelope restrictions as there are today. And when you see an older home that is taller than all the ones around it, that's the reason, because it was built a long time ago before our height limits.
Like that one down there with the peaked roof?
Yeah, I'm sure that peaked roof today would violate a particular building envelope restriction.
Okay.
And that house was probably built in the 50s.
Okay. And while we're here, why don't you just take us, I know it's very complex, but just give us an overview of what you know of the limitations and how you establish where you start from, so to speak.
Well, the first thing you have to do is establish the ultimate height limit, which is typically measured from the street center line. And it's usually 30 feet, but in parts of the city it's less. It can be 15 feet. If you've got a flat lot, it's different from a hillside lot. So you have to, that's one of the reasons you have to look at a site plan or a topography map. So once you've established the ultimate height limit, that's the first step. Then you have to determine what they call the additional building setback. All buildings have a setback from the street and from the rear of the property, and that also can vary depending on the depth of the parcel. So when you've established that, then you're allowed to go up a certain distance, which is usually 15 feet, and then there's a line that goes back towards the house at a 45-degree angle, and you're not allowed to encroach into that line. That's called the additional building setback. So you have to go through a process of determining where your building is, how big your lot is, what the setbacks are, how the topography factors into the equation. So it's kind of an involved, complicated process. It takes a little bit of analysis.
You're sorry you asked, aren't you? But we're going to be looking at these buildings in particular, and so when we go down to City Hall, we're going to look these babies up and find out, how much farther they could go up if they wanted to. Okay, we'll see you in a little bit.